Welcome to the first video on this channel, inspired by Aperture, a YouTube channel with over 900,000 subscribers. I wanted to make a video of my own shower thoughts. Subscribe if you want to see more like this. Those weirdly deep or meaningful thoughts we have while alone in the shower, those are shower thoughts. Some people get scared when they're alone in the shower or in their home, but you're not scared because you're alone, you're scared because you might not be. You're scared of the unknown. You don't know for certain that there's no one in the house with you. Yet, weirdly, we often feel the most safe in our homes, even though we're surrounded by 240-volt wires, endless water resting at 80 to 120 psi, and explosive methane gas, and all in pipes and wires which were installed by a total stranger who may or may not have ignored safety standards they felt unnecessary at the time. To avoid staying at home by ourselves, feeling lonely, we hang out with people. But being in a group of people who don't listen is often more lonely than actually just being alone. We go see movies with our friends, and sometimes those movies can really have a huge impact on us or society. But as far as I can tell, the most successful movie of all time, Avatar, has had no lasting impact on anything. Can you name even one person whose favorite movie is Avatar? I can't even remember a single character's name or what the plot of the movie was, and we have 4 more sequels coming. If it weren't for movies showing us, would you have any idea what the inside of an elevator shaft looked like? It's also weird how movie theaters consider 13-year-olds adult enough to pay adult ticket price, but you have to be 17 years old to be considered adult enough to see an R-rated movie. Rather than going out and overpaying for a movie, maybe you want to stay in and watch TV. If you watch old sitcoms and laugh along with the laugh track, you're really laughing with a bunch of dead people. We also like to make fun of dogs who freak out when they hear a dog bark on TV. But imagine if all day you just heard unintelligible gibberish and then suddenly heard someone speak your language perfectly. You'd probably freak out too. Well, maybe instead of watching TV, you prefer to spend your time playing video games. Single-player offline games might not be the most popular right now, but imagine how valuable they'll be during the apocalypse. In a lot of ways, life itself is like video games. Sleeping is like a save point. Inheritance from dead relatives is them dropping loot. And childhood is just a tutorial. If an adult is seen playing with dolls, they're considered weird. But if an adult and child are both playing the same video game, nobody cares. You never realize it when you're a kid, but while you're growing up, you're also watching your parents grow up. When you're a kid, you think your parents have eyes on the back of their head, but now as an adult, we've all realized that a lot of kids are actually just super predictable. As an adult, you also realize there are a lot of strange rules in our society that we all sort of agree to. Like, why is it okay for me to eat a whole pizza by myself, but if I eat an entire cake by myself, then suddenly I have a problem? Or how front row seats to anything are great, except at movie theaters. Our perception of things also changes as an adult. As a kid, staying inside and doing nothing all day sounds super boring, but as an adult, we reward ourselves by doing nothing all day. Speaking of doing nothing, have you ever realized that we spend 4 months a year sleeping? For the average person, that comes out to about a third of your life spent lying in a dark room watching the back of your eyelids. When we wake up after dying in a dream, it's because our brain doesn't know what happens after death. That being said, why can the brain recreate the feeling of falling from a tall height when most of us have never experienced that? If you've ever seen a brain and felt squeamish, that's just a brain being freaked out at seeing another brain. Maybe brains are just self-conscious. The brain also discovered a name for itself. Really, it's just 3 pounds of water, salt, and fat, essentially sitting in a dark room, playing a hyper-realistic video game and trying not to die. On the topic of death, wouldn't it be kind of cool if after you died, you got to see the top 5 times you almost died? Every decision you make sets off a chain of events that will eventually lead to your death. Hey, at least when you die, you don't have to worry about going to work anymore. Well, unless you're a morgue worker, then you have to go in one more time. We think a lot about what happens to us when we die, but what about other living things, like trees? The trees that go on to make Jenga blocks have to constantly relive getting cut down and falling over. And some trees don't get cut down, but we do make them hold up tree houses, which is really messed up when you think about it for too long. Hey, I just killed your friend. Would you mind holding him while I live in him for a bit? Thanks. It might be peaceful for us to sit under a tree reading a nice book, but it must be horrible for the tree to see us there, holding his dead friend in our hands. You know, maybe let's move on from trees. The average person has more access to the vast quantities of human knowledge than ever before in history. and it's all just sitting there in our pockets. Sure, 100 years ago, people figured we would have flying cars by now, but when you think about it, our massive worldwide network of data that utilizes the processing power of billions of devices, allowing complex communication across the world, is arguably more impressive. With the widespread use of smartphones, bananas are no longer the most phone-shaped food available. Pop-Tarts are. Maybe 1,000 years in the future, when archaeologists are digging for relics from our time, instead of releasing an ancient mummy curse, they'll accidentally release an ancient virus into their computers. People generally don't like to give up saying things like, if Steve Jobs gave up, we wouldn't have Apple, or if Mark Zuckerberg gave up, then we wouldn't have Facebook. Can you imagine all the things we don't know about that we've lost because someone has actually given up? And if all these shower thoughts have caused you to have an existential crisis, I want you to go outside and look up into the night sky. Look up at all those tens of billions of stars and know that you've become the unique final resting place for billions of photons that have traveled thousands and thousands of light years just to make your life a little brighter. Do you like this kind of video? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear some of your favorite shower thoughts. If you did enjoy this video, consider liking and subscribing for more and ringing the notification bell so you know whenever we post a new video. I plan on releasing a series of these shower thought videos, probably weekly. I hope to see you in the next one.